Welcome to the Degenerate Dillon podcast, where Dillon has you covered with everything from spreads to futures to prop bets. Follow him every weekday as we pick daily best bets using stats, analytics, and a little bit of luck. Now here's your host, Degenerate Dillon himself, Dillon Nelson.
Hey everybody, welcome back into another episode of the Degenerate Dillon podcast. We are sticking with the March Madness flow on this Tuesday. We are going to spend today looking at those first four matchups on Thursday night, the play-in games. First game is Texas Southern Tigers facing the Mount St. Mary's Mountaineers. The second game is Drake and Wichita State. Third game, App State, Norfolk. Fourth game, UCLA and Michigan State, which is probably the best game. You can make a case for Drake and Wichita State, but I'm really looking forward to the UCLA-Michigan State game that evening at 9 o'clock at night Central Standard Time. But we're going to dive into the first game of the night, which is the Texas Southern Tigers facing off against the Southwestern Athletic Conference champions, Mount St. Mary's. Mount St. Mary's is 12-10 on the year. Looking at some of the analytics, Texas Southern is 16-8 on the year, 12-10-1 against the spread. Mount St. Mary's is 11-10 against the spread. Similar numbers against the spread, but I really think Texas Southern wins this game. In my opinion, the line right now is Mount St. Mary's by 1. I think the obvious pick here is Texas Southern to win that money line or cover the 1-point spread. It's eventually going to be a pick 'em. If you ask me, the spread has moved from Mount St. Mary's by 2.5 to 1 since the lines came out on Sunday night. So I'm guessing by the time tip, it's going to be a pick'em or Texas Southern favored by half a point or 1 point. I just really like Texas Southern in this matchup. They have won their last 9 games, covering their last 4 against the spread. Mount St. Mary's has won their last 4 in their conference tournament, obviously bringing home the conference tournament, but lost 3 games before the conference tournament. I really like Texas Southern as a 16 seed, and you know we're not gonna go crazy here and say they're gonna come in and upset the 1 seed they're playing, because I don't believe that. But if there was a 16 seed team that could give a 1 seed a run for their money, and when I say run for money, I mean like maybe a 10-point game, something like 10, 15-point game, it's going to be Texas Southern. They've played hot the last month, winning their last 9 games. And especially a decent record against the spread. I'm going to be looking at that play against the 1 seed. If they do end up beating Mount St. Mary's, I'm going to be interested in seeing what that line is, because they are decent against the spread. So we will keep an eye on that. But I've got Texas Southern beating Mount St. Mary's, and like I said, but as soon as tip gets there, it's going to be probably a pick 'em. So I'm going to take Texas Southern in this matchup. Moving over to the second game of the day, the Drake Bulldogs facing off against the Wichita State Shockers. Wichita State had been on a run. They just lost to Cincinnati, who just lost to Houston in the AAC championship game. Boy, was Wichita State on a run. They had ended up winning their last, they won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They won 6. Oh, excuse me. I'm looking at the wrong thing. They won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They won 8 games in a row before losing to Cincinnati. This team is a really good basketball team. They lost to Houston by 7 earlier in the season. They lost to Memphis by 20 in a bad game. They beat Ole Miss, who barely missed the tournament, was one of the first 4 teams out. They lost to Missouri by 10 and only lost to Oklahoma State by 3 earlier in the year. This team is sneaky good at the 11 seed. And in this game against the Drake Bulldogs, who are 25-4, and listen, I don't know if you guys paid attention to it, but Drake was one of those teams that was a 13-0 to start the season against the spread. People were playing them like crazy. They ended the year 20-6-1 against the spread. Wichita State is 9-9-1 against the spread. So there's a really big discrepancy, as far as ATS numbers are involved. But I really like the Wichita State -1 play here. You could even take the money line probably, and it would pay out just fine. But my pick is the Wichita State Shockers. I think they're a little bit more battle tested than Drake. Drake's out of the Missouri Valley Conference. They finished second behind Loyola Chicago, who's a very good 8 seed in this tournament. I like Wichita State here, 16-5 against 25-4, but it's just a more battle-tested team and a better conference that has Houston, Memphis, SMU, Cincinnati, Tulsa. I mean, there's just good teams in the AAC, better teams than in the Missouri Valley Conference. So ride Wichita State here, ride ETN and Wade in this game. They're going to be a really good team to watch. I've actually got them moving on to the second round. I can't remember who they beat in the second round, but I've got them winning, or the first round, but I've got them winning in the first round and getting to the second round. So I like Wichita State in this matchup. Moving on to the third game of the day, Appalachian State Mountaineers facing off against Norfolk State Spartans. Norfolk State coming off their Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference win. There's really just not a whole lot of teams there. The second best team in that league is Coppin State. So, I mean, I'm taking Appalachian State really just based off name. This Norfolk State team has beaten nobody, and it's not like they absolutely destroyed the teams they played. I mean, they're just not that great of a team. Appalachian State has won their last 4 games, not necessarily beating, world beaters either. UT Arlington's in that league. They're sometimes good. Arkansas State, UALR is in that league. There's some decent teams. Appalachian State didn't even finish the league play in first place. Georgia State and Texas State were the 2 best teams in that conference, but I'm going to take Appalachian State here just based off name recognition. They're favored by 3. Their against the spread numbers are 14-9-1. Norfolk's is 12-8-1. So there's not a huge discrepancy when it comes to ATS numbers, but I like the Appalachian State to cover 3 play here. I think Appalachian State gets it done. Moving over to the best game of the night, in my opinion, UCLA facing off against the Michigan State Spartans. UCLA has kind of lacked these last 4 games. They've lost 4 in a row, losing Colorado, Oregon, USC, and eventually Oregon State in the Pac-12 tournament. Michigan State has won against the likes of Ohio State, Indiana, and Michigan in their last 6 games. Just the Big Ten play alone this year is just a brutal conference and a brutal league to go and play through. And the fact that they've won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of their last 7 games is kind of remarkable in a conference that's just packed and loaded. I mean, they got 9 teams out of the 10 into the tournament. The only one not getting in is Indiana. But having said that, Michigan State was probably one of the latter teams to get into the tournament in the Big Ten. They're probably that 8 or 9 team that got into the tournament, but they are battle tested. And I like that. I like a team that's played in the Big Ten all year, because all of the experts speak and say that when you're in a league like the Big Ten and you've been battle tested all year and you've played against these teams game after game, you get into a game against a Pac-12 opponent that necessarily hasn't, faced the gauntlet that you faced all year, and let alone hasn't played great in their last 4 games. It's going to seem a little bit easier. I mean, no basketball game against a Division I team is easy, but it's going to seem a little bit easier. And them having beaten, like we said, Michigan and Indiana and Ohio State in their last 6 games, I'm taking the Spartans here. The line is 2. I like Michigan State to cover that line. I don't think UCLA can cover that 2, that +2 there. The points per game is in favor of the UCLA Bruins, but like we talked about, they don't play in the same conference as Michigan State Spartans in Big Ten, which is probably the best conference in college basketball, arguably. I don't even know if you can argue that with the loaded. I mean, they got 2 number 1 seeds, the loaded league. I like Michigan State to win here and possibly win in their first round matchup. We'll see what that matchup is, but I'm taking Michigan State and the 2 here to cover. I just wanted to touch base with y'all on these first 4 games. I don't know if you've got anybody that's kind of gone over those first 4 games on Thursday, especially who to throw your money on and who to trust. We really like. My lock of the night is Michigan State against UCLA. I don't think the Bruins can hang with Michigan State, but that'll be it for me. I just wanted to touch base on Thursday night's games. Tomorrow we will revisit the tournament again, and we will go over some of the first round matchups and some of the first round upsets I've picked and why I've picked them, and giving you reasons why I've done that. A lot of people pick these brackets and they don't necessarily give their reasons on why they picked Colgate to beat Arkansas. I mean, nobody really gives you a reason. So my biggest upset in my bracket so far is Cleveland State beating Houston. I will visit that tomorrow, and we will go over why I picked Cleveland State to beat Houston, along with some other upsets I've picked, and we will do that on tomorrow's show. But I really appreciate y'all tuning in, man. Short and sweet today. I hope y'all enjoyed the bracket preview with Jackson Collier of JC Hoopspot. If you haven't caught that, go on my YouTube channel or on Facebook. Visit that, watch it as you fill out your bracket. It's full of knowledge and reasons why we picked who we picked, and it's really fun. We had a lot of fun filling that out. So if you got time, go check that out. But that'll be it for me today. I appreciate it. It is March 16th. We will catch y'all tomorrow. Take it easy.